So I'm gonna show you how to attach a bag badge. Some people have their own logo, and you can buy these little oval and square handmade badges. Makes your bag look a little more shiny and eye-catching, a little more professional. So I want mine, this is the front of my bag, and I want mine to be centered on this top band. So I have to remember that my seam allowance up here, first we have to center it, so that's what we're going to do here. So my seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. So I have to come down 3/8 and make a mark. And I'm just using a heat erase pen. And then I've got to find the center. And when you're making a bag, just a lot of times things will not line up exactly, and you have to do just a little bit of trimming. See, it didn't very much on this side either. I got like 1/8 of an inch over, and that might be a little bit more than 1/8. But what is really center on the front of my bag is this area right here. My zippers, this little divot right here, and right up straight through here. That's my center. So I'm not going to worry about too much on the outside edges. I wouldn't want it to be terribly off, but I don't think it would be. So the way I'm going to find the center here is I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to match up the zippers and make, well, let's line it up just a little bit better and make a crease. And this is going to go away really fast on this leather vinyl, faux leather, blah. And so I have to hurry and make my mark. So I'm going to make a mark right down through the center here. And now you can even do it by eye now if you wanted to. So here's my center. I can't go above this line because I know that's my seam allowance. So one thing you can do is you can measure this, and I'm at 2 5/8 inches to the bottom here. And if I wanted to go to the top row or the first row of top stitching, I'm 2 1/2. So that makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to divide 2 1/2 by 2 because that's where I would be on my center, and I'll be at 1 1/4. So there's my center right there. So got that. So now let me get my knife. So make sure I've got my badge right side up. And I'm going to make a couple of little marks on here, just using the points on the badge. So I can see them there. And I'm going to make a tiny little cut. Very tiny little cut. You can always make them bigger, but you can't make them smaller. So if we need to, we can adjust this. And plus, I like these to be pretty snug in here. And if you make them smaller, and when you get your badge on, it's skewed a little bit this way or that way, you still can fix it a little bit. Whereas if you make these little cuts too big, you're never going to be able to get it straight. So now we have this. And this looks good. See, it looks just pretty good. So let's see now on the back. These washers that come with these little badges are sharp. They are really sharp. So I've got a couple of little tricks that I use to protect my leather under here. So I'm going to take the little washer and use it as a guide and cut just a little spot on that and slip that on there. Didn't get that one cut very good. Maybe I can just push it. There we go. So, and then I'll put my washer on. Let me see. Here. So I slipped that on there. I might have been out of camera. Slipped it on there. And this is just fusible fleece, but I'm not going to fuse it. It's just to cushion this a little bit. And another thing that I'm going to do, because this faux leather is not terribly thick, I'm going to take a piece of Peltex, so we'll cut something out of this scrap. I've cut lots of stuff out of this and saved the scrap, so I guess it's a good idea to save your scraps. I don't save them all, but quite a few of them I do. Whoops, sorry. So now we're going to cut some little places in this template again, using it as a guide. And I don't think it needs to be quite this long. We'll whack it off. All right, where were my little cuts here? There's one. So we'll put that one on, and we'll put, there it is. These things are really hard to push, these prongs. So now I have some nice protection for my fabric, a little bit of stabilization for my badge, and now I'm going to put my washer on. And I have to get my hammer. Hold on. I don't use my hammer to pound, but my fingers are not strong enough. Plus, these things are sharp. So I just take my hammer and I use it like a extra strong finger. And I push these over and down a little bit. And you can push them out or in, either way. And now, the last thing that I do is, because you have to remember there's going to be fabric behind here, your lining's going to be up against this. And remember I said this was kind of sharp, so we don't want that rubbing on the lining. So now I'm going to take a piece of my scrap from my fusible fleece and my glue. This is Beacon 3-in-1 glue. There's a lot of different kinds of glue you can use. And I'm just gonna put a little glue on this badge template, or washer I mean, and a little bit here and a little bit there. And stick this down. And now my badge is on, safe and secure, and my fabric is all safe from being torn or pushed through by something sharp from the badge. And there's our badge all done. And now all I have to do is take a warm washcloth, the friction pen, there it is. The friction pen comes off with heat. So when I'm use it on something that I can't put an iron on, I just take a warm washcloth and it comes right off. So there you have it, how to install a badge.